Hello, it's Julianne Stevenson, hashtag the Brainy Medic with Sterling Credentials, and I'm here to talk to you today about the affective domain. So if you're unfamiliar, there are three categories or domains of learning: the psychomotor, which is the skill set, the cognitive, which is what the student knows, and the affective, which is the behavioral or the professionalism domain. If you've been teaching for any length of time, your experience is likely that in the early days, 15 years ago, say, we didn't have to teach the affective domain very much. Most people knew that on time means 10 minutes early. Most people knew that appropriate dress didn't include flip-flops. That's no longer the case. And I'm here today to propose to you, to submit to you, that rather than having our own negative feelings about that, we simply embrace it as another thing we have to teach. I mean, we don't get all emotional and upset when a brand new off the street EMT basic student doesn't know what the ABCs are. Well, we shouldn't be upset that they don't know what it means to be on time. It's our job to teach it. It's our job as instructors to prepare these students for the workforce, and the affective domain is a huge part of that. So, the challenge with the affective domain is that it's kind of nebulous and open to bias. I mean, what does respect mean to you versus what does respect mean to me? Or empathy, or delivering patient care with attention to detail. These are some examples of the categories that can be found in the 1997 or 1998 NHTSA EMS instructor training manual, back in the appendix. If you'll reach out to me, I can send you the link, or better yet, I have the entire document in an editable Word document so that you can adjust the terminology for what you want for your program. There are very good examples of what each behavior is. Now, it gives you a full evaluation form that should be deployed at least twice a semester, in my opinion. Once about in the middle where you've had a chance to get to know the students, and once at the end, at least for EMT students. Paramedic students, we do more than that. And that just gives them a general baseline of where they are. The trouble behaviors, the behaviors that would not be acceptable at the clinical site, are addressed with what we call the demonstrated affective domain or affective violation. So DAVs. I'm sorry, this is weird. I can't see my screen because I wanted the text to be readable for you. We call them demonstrated because the student has given a behavior or shown a behavior that we can point to and say, this behavior, these words are not okay. We have a reference to the violation fits into one of the categories that the NHTSA document has set up and that the students are completely familiar with and able to reference in their syllabus. And the violation just being that it's not acceptable. Our DAVs are perforated cardstock, and they call them the pink sheet. You're getting the pink sheet. One is the student copy. It says it there at the bottom. It gives them a summary of the event and tells them, by circling, we circle, which one of the categories they violated. On the back of the student copy is their rights and where they can get more information, i.e. the syllabus. The departmental copy has, again, the summary of what happened, along with a few more details to be given to the lead instructor. It's signed by whoever wrote the DAV and also by the student, acknowledging that they were informed. Now, why does this go to the lead instructor? Well, the way we have the system set up is it's a cohesive experience. It's a cohesive tracking of DAVs, of violations in the affective domain. I mean, if you have a student that's late 3 times to class and 2 times to clinic, before, because those are different college courses, there was no way to sort of say, look, you have a problem being on time and that's not okay for workforce and we can't sign you off as prepared for workforce. DAVs, though, are cumulative. And the way it works is if you have a repeated violation, then each time the number of DAVs that you get are doubled. So let's say that one of your clinical preceptors submits a recommendation for 1 DAV for a student for being late. But you know the student was already late to class twice. The first time they were late, they got 1 DAV. The second time they were late, they got 2. And now this time, they're getting 4. Now they've got a grand total of 7. Now, this is still not horrible. It's a correction, a correction, a correction. When the student gets to 15 DAVs, the next time they're late, they'll get 8. And that'll be 15. They are suspended from clinicals. Why? Because they're not a good example of your student as a guest in a clinical site. You can't count on them to be on time. They will not represent your program well, and you don't want to get in trouble with those hard-fought clinical site relationships. If they make it, oh, and there's a remediation exercise that I have all set up too that I'd be happy to send you, along with the template for this. If they hit 20, then they are recommended for dismissal from the program. We could say shall be dismissed, and that's going to be up to you. I feel like it gives us a little bit of wiggle room if we've got somebody kind of borderline that they're really trying, but for whatever reason they're still not grasping the concept or whatever it is. Being late is not really one of those, but there are others. You also, or we have it set up at least in our syllabus, where for very egregious violations, there can be 5 and 7 DAVs at one blow. The example of this, I had a student who emailed us to tell us that the internet software wasn't working. And when we went and looked at the login history, the first login was after the complaint email had been sent. So she downright lied. Now, to be very honest, 10 years ago, dismissal. And maybe that's still what needs to be done, but you have to make that judgment for your own program. I have decided that no human is perfect, and that I want layers of trying to teach before, I just throw my hands up as a lost cause and move on. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have felt that way. So I'm not saying that there's a right answer. It's kind of like the art and practice of medicine. Different people have different ways to get from point A to point B. But what DAVs do offer you is concreteness. You can pull a student out of class and say, well, you were disrespectful to your classmate and that's unacceptable behavior and we're going to need to change that. But has that really given the student any information about how to change it or what to change it to? Okay, yeah, you can extend the conversation, and you probably will when giving them their DAV. But in addition, there's a written reference in the syllabus to what is acceptable behavior, which you may already have, and you may prefer that. But what I found is that having something in their hands that they know is going in their file, it just seems to have a better impact, a more productive intervention, if you will. The other thing, it helps your faculty, particularly your adjunct faculty, especially if they don't feel like they're good with confrontation. Because guess what? This is not a confrontation. This is the equivalent of a skill sheet. It is documenting the student's inability to reach a written standard. So there's no emotion, there's no confrontation. It's just another document, no big deal. And my faculty are well aware that it doesn't affect the student if it's their first or second or third offense. So they feel much more comfortable. Now that's the other thing. For this to be a cohesive program and for this to really work, there's got to be buy-in from your staff. And so the number one thing that you as a leader have to provide to get buy-in is what? That's right. Why? Why is this important? Why do we need to do this? Why should I take the time and the effort? And my response is this. You ride on a truck right now, don't you? Yeah. So wouldn't you like for your shift relief to come 10 minutes early? Well, yeah. Well, how do you expect this EMT to do that if we don't teach them? That's what that means. Ding, light goes on. Here we go. We're all on board. So that's DAVs. Click visit us there on the channel page. Go to the Sterling Credentials webpage. Find me on Facebook. LinkedIn, hashtag the Brainy Medic, should find me just about anywhere, and I will send you all the documents to get you started, or at least so you can review and decide if it's something that your program could use. Thank you very much for sticking with me this long. Have a fantastic day and join me next time.